in the NFL draft.
Hey, make us lunch. We're hungry.
Yo, everybody, how you doing? Now, as training camp began and the players started to show up, the fans were very excited. They were all happy to see the players practicing and get ready for the season. On Philly 500, he decided to turn the camera on, look at you right in the eye, this eye to that eye, this eye to that eye, and he made the statement, Philly 500 says the Eagles are going to make a big move. That's right, I predicted the Eagles are going to make a big move. It's coming. Now, we started to discuss this. We started to talk about the cornerback situation and the cornerback being a hole in the team, and the fact that the coach has even come out and said that they will look elsewhere. So we started speaking about what kind of players, who the Eagles would bring in. And we had four main guys that we talked about. Darrelle Revis, Kyle Fuller, Richard Sherman, and Joe Haden. Those have been the four main guys that we've talked about. Now, it turns out today that Ian Rappaport, an NFL insider, said that the Eagles have no interest in Darrelle Revis. So we can cross Darrelle Revis off the list. He ain't coming to the Eagles. He's 32 years old. I think he is getting $6 million from the Jets for not playing. So it's going to be hard for him to come to the Eagles. I don't think he's a fit. And I'm not unhappy that Revis isn't coming. I don't think Revis had anything left, to be honest with you. So I'm okay with Revis not coming. Now, another guy that we have talked about, and some people have talked about, that I'm going to take off the list as well, is Richard Sherman. I do not believe the Seattle Seahawks are going to trade Richard Sherman. I haven't seen anything that indicates that there's an interest to trade him. Matter of fact, I've seen the opposite. I think Richard Sherman wanted to get traded. They didn't move him. At this point, there's no way Richard Sherman comes to Philly. He ain't going anywhere. Seattle's, in good position to probably win another division title. So Richard Sherman ain't going. So we cross him off the list. So now we're down to two guys, Joe Haden and Kyle Fuller. I think the chances that Hayden goes are slim. I would put it at about a 10 to 15% chance that Hayden gets traded. So we won't cross him off the list, but that really only leaves one guy. The only guy that I can see out of that list the Eagles getting or acquiring would be Kyle Fuller. Especially that Joe Douglas was in Chicago. He knows Kyle Fuller, and he has experience with him and who he is. So he would have, a good idea of whether Kyle Fuller is the kind of guy we want to bring in. So I think Kyle Fuller is probably the only option at this point. But the only other thing we need to talk about is who else is out there that we're not thinking of. Who else do we not know or not thinking about that is going to be available? Maybe right now it's nobody, but as injuries and players play good in preseason, that will change. So we need to think about that. Right now, there's only one viable guy I see, that could come to Philly, and that would be Kyle Fuller. And I don't think you have to give Jordan Matthews up for him. I don't think you have to give a fourth and Matthews or Matthews and Kendricks. I think a late round pick, a Kendricks by himself, would get it done. Jordan Matthews for Kyle Fuller is way too much. Way too much. So that's my view of the whole situation. There might be somebody we're missing. So what we're going to do is tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern time, on Sunday tomorrow, we're going to have a live stream for about an hour, half hour to an hour, and discuss who we think the Eagles should go after. Who, if any, is out there for the Eagles to get at cornerback. So I hope you think about it. I hope you join me for a live stream tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific. And you know what? We'll take some shots. We'll talk a little bit about the Cowboys and Giants and how they stink and about how their players are a bunch of dingbats, and it'll be fun. So join me tomorrow. Let's figure out who the Eagles can go after. Take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.